Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So, a lot of people will tell me, oh, well, you gotta have DNA. If you're gonna prove who Michael Jackson's real parents are, you need DNA. The only way to do it is DNA, right? Okay, so this is a card. It's just like a sports card type of thing, right? It's a collector's card. And what it says is it's an official piece of Michael Jackson's hair. So this is actually a piece of Michael Jackson's DNA. If you read the back of the card, it has the name of this like some guy that was like a world-class collector of people's hair. He's like in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the largest collection of hair samples of celebrities and stuff like that, right? So it says that the chain of custody has proven that the hair that they have got in this card comes from that guy's collection. Okay, that's their, okay, but there's no chain of custody on the card. It doesn't prove. And how would you actually prove it to say that the guy actually got the hair from Michael Jackson? Because, and then it's like, how do you know if Michael, even if Michael, like, you don't know if he was wearing a wig and he just cut a piece off and here you go. How do you even know that that was really his hair? Like, what do you really know? It would be hard to understand to actually get real proof. It would be difficult and stuff, right? Because it'd be tricky, he's doing tricky stuff, and who knows what hair is there, exactly what's going on. There's a lot of tricky stuff going on there, right? So I'm saying that that's not so easy to get, and to prove that it's actually hair from Michael, that would be another thing. Because people say, well, you can't test it against the Jacksons, because that could just be some hair from a Jackson, right? So somebody would say, well, okay, we'll test it against a Jackson, and they'd say, oh, it matches up to the Jacksons. It's like, okay, well, how do I know that hair didn't come from the Jacksons then? And you're just testing hair to the Jacksons. It just doesn't make any sense. But so the bigger picture I want to show you is, look at this DNA can't answer any questions. So let me show you. Let's go into a courtroom, like pretend like we're in a courtroom, right? And let's ask the DNA, because people say that my story is not as valid in a courtroom as what DNA would prove. And I say, what are you talking about? DNA, you're just trusting the word of some guy in a white coat. He comes out and gives you his opinion about what it is, and you just choose to either believe him or you don't. You didn't get any evidence. You don't have any details. Just some guy came out and said, this is what this means, and you choose to believe him or you don't. And I say, no, I don't choose to believe him. That doesn't mean shit to me. I want real evidence and shit, right? And people tell me my stuff's not real evidence, and they tell me that this piece of hair is real evidence, right? Okay, so let's ask this DNA some questions. Let's see if we can get some questions out of it, right? Okay, hello, Mr. DNA. I'd like to ask you some questions, okay? Okay, can you explain to me how Michael Jackson's real parents, Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, had the opportunity for where Diana got pregnant? Can you explain to me how that opportunity took place and how it developed? Hello? Are you there, Mr. DNA? Did you hear my question? Do you have any answers? Oh, you got nothing to say? Oh, okay. Well, let me show you then, okay? So, how Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson have the opportunity for her to get pregnant by him at this is the time that she's explaining here. This is the exact moment in time of where Michael Jackson is conceived. And now you got to think about, like, on the larger picture. Would Diana Ross really be talking about being in love with Smokey Robinson when she's only 13 years old? Because she hasn't even turned 14 at this time. When she's talking about staying in his house, she's not even 14 because she moves off of that street, Belmont, where she's living 3 doors down from Smokey Robinson. She moves off of that street when on her 14th birthday, okay, which I say that she's pregnant at that time. She's already pregnant at that time. She's already gotten pregnant because she knows she's leaving the neighborhood. All these things are happening. Smokey's met Berry Gordy. He's on his way. He's made a record, and Diana is in love with Smokey, and she's about to move out of the neighborhood. So, and Smokey's got a girlfriend. So Diana can't be Smokey's girlfriend. She can't be in the band because Smokey's girlfriend's already in the band, right? And now she's leaving the neighborhood, so she's losing everything. So what happened was that she got pregnant. She let Smokey Robinson have sex with her while she was staying the night over at her friend Sharon's house, which is Smokey Robinson's house. And she got pregnant. That's the story of what I say occurred. Now, do the real life circumstances that were happening at that place and time and moment and everything, do they line up with the story of what I'm telling, okay? I asked the DNA, didn't have any answers for me, right? So let's see if we can get some answers from Diana.
And who was your first love, though? Yeah, who was that?
You mean,
that
are you talking about man? Are you talking about man love?
Oh, yeah, I should have specified that. I'm sorry.
Smokey Robinson was my first love. I really loved him. You know, I have stories. People think my life or my career started with Motown, but really it started with Smokey. Smokey lived on Belmont. We lived on the same street. I was very close with his cousin Sharon Burston. And I used to sleep over. You know, I kids had sleepovers at Sharon's house, and I used to listen to the Miracles sing in the basement. And that was before I came to Motown. That was before the Supremes. And to me, I loved him because there was a time where when I first heard his record on the radio and I realized that you might be able to sing and make a record, I mean, it was like major time. So I think maybe first love of maybe was Smokey.
Okay. That's some pretty interesting. You laid down a bunch of facts and evidence for us there, Diana. Thank you, you know. Okay, so let's go back and ask the DNA. Now, DNA, Mr. DNA. It's my assumption and theory that Diana Ross is Billie Jean. And the actual origins of the Billie Jean comes from the time where the Jacksons had signed to Motown. They had moved to Los Angeles. At that first period of time when they're living there in Los Angeles, part of the time that they're staying in Los Angeles, part of their living arrangement is that they're living in Diana Ross's house, right? And I say that that's the time of where Diana took Michael to her room and told him the truth, that she was his real mother, right? And so what I say is that Diana Ross is Billie Jean, and the actual understanding of the song Billie Jean is that it's Diana Ross is Billie Jean, and the song is about Diana informing Michael Jackson that she was his real mother when Michael was living in her house at that period of time right there after the Jacksons had moved to LA. Okay, so Mr. DNA, do you have any insights or information about the origins of and understandings of the song Billie Jean, and what's the true origin of the Billie Jean? It's just something stupid caught my eye that's like distracting me. I was looking up there at let me just show you this really quick. I totally wasn't going to do this. It's just something stupid distracted me. But it's like on that verified, I was like, does it say DR up there? It says DJR, right? Because I was like, God damn it, does it say DR? For Diana Ross? I was like, that, because there's shit like that happens and shit, but I think it says DJR, right? So I just got sidetracked and shit, right? Okay, so, Mr. DNA, do you know what the song Billie Jean's about? And can you explain to me where Michael was inspired to use the name Billie for the naming of Diana Ross? Can you explain that to me, Mr. DNA? Can you speak up? We can't hear you. What's that? Oh, you don't have anything to say. Oh, okay. Well, let me explain it to you then in my way and stuff, right? So this is Diana Ross in her first movie, Lady Sings the Blues. First line of Billie Jean, she was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. And who's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene at that time where I'm saying Michael moved to LA, and what's occurring at that time when he's living in Diana Ross's house? Oh, she's filming a movie called Lady Sings the Blues. She's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene, because Michael knew Diana Ross as the lead singer of the Supremes, the singer. But when he's living in her house at the time when she informs Michael that she's his real mother, she's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. And what's the name of her character in this movie?
Wait, what'd you say your name was?
Eleanor.
Ellen. Ella who?
Billie. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, that's my name.
Okay, Billie.
Okay, Billie. Now, just look at Diana Ross there. And it's like one of those things, it's like, if you can't see Michael Jackson, if you don't see Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, then you are not a Michael Jackson fan. You're blind. This is one of the things I say about the fans. if you don't see Michael Jackson, like right there, if you can't see Michael Jackson, that's Michael Jackson. I mean, it's Michael. That's Michael. Look at her. It's Michael. That's Michael's mother. If you do not see the resemblance between Diana and Michael, because it's overwhelming. I mean, and it's her mannerisms, the way that they act, and it's the whole frame of the body, that rail thin body. It's their mannerisms, the way they speak. There's so much stuff there. It's ridiculous, right? But there's the name Billie. For the origins of, that's the name of the Billie Jean, that's the origin of the name Billie, of which Diana Ross is playing the character Billie Holiday because she's more like a beauty queen from a movie scene, and that's what the song Billie Jean is actually about. It's about Diana informing Michael that she was his real mother, that Michael was the kid in the song. That's what the whole thing's about. You people have just misinterpreted it, all right? So, Mr. DNA. Michael Jackson, towards the end of his life, ended up having a really severe drug addiction, which ended up leading to being the cause of his death. Can you explain to me, Mr. DNA, what pains Michael Jackson had and what he was actually dealing with that led him to becoming that kind of severe drug addict, which led to his death? Hello, Mr. DNA? Did you understand my question? Hello? Do you got any answers? Silent. This Mr. DNA guy doesn't like to speak or something. I don't know. I guess he's got stage fright or something. You put him in front of a microphone, he's got nothing to say, That's weird and shit, right? So, this is what's known as the Michael Jackson slurred speech recording. If I zoom in more, you could see the one little piece better, but it's up at the top piece is what we're looking for and stuff there, right? So I'm going to turn the volume up here. So now, what I'm saying is because Michael Jackson's life, when Diana Ross informs him that he was actually abandoned as a child, right? That he's not part of the Jacksons, then he realized that Joe Jackson was using him. It wasn't that Joe Jackson was doing the best for his family. What it was is that Joe Jackson now had a connection to Berry Gordy from Motown, because that's the connection of where I don't know that if Joe Jackson at the time when he was given Michael, I don't know that he would have known Diana Ross. She was just a 14-year-old girl, right? So at that time, I don't know that when Diana Ross becomes a star, I don't know that if Joe would have known, oh, that's Diana, that's the woman we got I don't know that part of it. I don't know that part of the story. It's something that we'd have to ask them to get the answers and stuff, right? But I know it's Berry Gordy's the one that set it all up, because Berry Gordy's the friends with Joe Jackson. They're old friends. That's how it ended up. That's how Michael was put into the Jackson's house, is because Berry Gordy and Joe Jackson are the same age, and they're old friends. That's how it happened, right? So Joe Jackson he had the connection to Motown by getting this child, and that's why I say he got the child from Berry Gordy, because like I said, and he got it from Diana, but at the time, Diana's nobody, she's just 14 years old, right? So, and I don't know that if when Diana became a star, I don't know if Joe would have known that that's the woman, that's the real mother. I don't know that until Diana came and started showing, and started treating Michael this special way and started giving all this attention, then at that point, Joe probably would have figured it out. There's something there, they would have figured it out, that, oh, she's the mother. But I don't know where that actually occurred, what point in time in history that actually occurred, right? But so, when Diana tells Michael the truth, now Michael knows that Joe wasn't doing all that stuff because he's like trying to do good for his family. He's doing it because he was given this kid from Berry Gordy. And now Berry Gordy has built Motown, and then that's why Joe knows, okay, as soon as the kid starts showing talent, Joe knows exactly what we're going to do. He's like, this is the kid I got from them. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to train all my kids to be musicians and train them how to sing and well, kind of sing, but to sing and dance and be entertainers. He trained them and worked them hard and stuff. stuff, right? He made them, they worked hard. There's no doubt about it. They did work. They put a lot of effort into doing that. Now, even with all the hard work and the effort of what they did, they're not Michael. Michael was born with the talent because his real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. So, but the Jacksons were good enough to fake it and to play along with the game of what was going on, and it worked. Joe got him in. Joe got the deal and stuff, right? But then, so Michael then realizes, after Diana tells him the truth, all that work and that hard work of what he did, he realized that he was not doing that with his family. He was being used by Joe. And then after that, what happened was they get to Motown, and Diana's there telling Michael, I'm your real mother and Smokey's your father, but you have to remain a Jackson. That's what the line says. It says, she says, I'm the one, but the kid's not my son. That's she says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Yeah, because everybody thinks Michael's saying the kid's not my son. No, what happened is that Diana tells Michael, you're the one. You're the love child of me and Smokey, but you're not my son. She says the kid's not my son because because you're officially a Jackson now, which it also states in the song, the lie has become the truth. And that's what Michael's explaining to you. The lie has become the truth. You're a Jackson. She embraced him, but then she rejects him again and says, okay, I'm your mother, but you have to stay living with the Jacksons now. You're part of that family, right? So now Michael's like in between these families trying to figure out, well, he's trying to give love and get love from his real parents, which it never really happened. He never really got fully accepted by his real parents. And then they never exposed it to the public. So Michael had to live this lie constantly where he's living under the umbrella of the Jackson family, but he's not part of that family, and he's having to carry the burden for keeping up the image of the Jackson family. He's having to deal with all that stuff. Then Michael starts writing songs about his true experience, which I say Billie Jean is about, and it becomes one of the biggest songs of all time. Like, you're talking about one of the biggest all-time greatest hits of all time, and The Thriller becomes the biggest selling record of all time. Michael has millions and millions of fans. He's got all kinds of thousands of reporters and people in the music business who are interviewing him and doing research into his stuff. And he goes through that whole process, and what happens is nobody understood his song. He's like, damn, I explained the whole thing in Billie Jean. I told you what happened. I tell you who Billie Jean is it's because Diana Ross playing Lady Sings the Blues, Billie Holiday. I explained it. He's like, I explained everything. But then it's like, nobody understood it. So then Michael had to carry that burden, and it just morphed into what it kept morphing into, where it just caused him so much pain, where he ends up being in isolation and becoming a drug addict and stuff, right? Which leads to his death. And now in the slurred speech recording here, he's explaining these other children are out there that have this pain, okay? But this is the same pain of what Michael's dealing with, right? This is the pain that caused Michael's death. And the reason Michael Jackson, this is the slurred speech recording, because this is a recording that Dr. Murray recorded Michael after Dr. Murray had doped Michael up, and Michael's like, he's half awake, half asleep. He's kind of unconscious. He's in a very vulnerable state. And the doctor's not supposed to be making recordings of a person in this kind of state, right? But he recorded it for his own personal benefit, not for a medical purpose. This is one of the big reasons why Dr. Murray went to jail, is because he made this recording and it proved like malpractice, that he was doing things that were not in the best interest of his client. This recording is actually a massive part of the actual prosecution of Dr. Murray, which a lot of people don't really understand how important this recording is. It's super important. But it's also super important for my story, because right here Michael's telling you the real pain, the pain that causes all this stuff of what he's actually dealing with, right? So this is what he's talking about, like orphan children and stuff, but he's an orphan child, so he's referring to his same pain. This is why he understands their pain. He feels their pain because this is what happened to him. Same thing.
They walk around. The mother, they dropped them off. The psychological degradation in that.
Okay? They walk around with no mother. They drop them off. They leave a psychological degradation of that. That's what happened to Michael when he realized that his mother dropped him off. And then he tells you right there, they walk around with no mother. That's what was happening to Michael. He basically didn't have any mother at that time, because now Diana's not allowing, she's not really being Michael's mother. Now, she tried her best and stuff, but she won't acknowledge to the world that she's Michael's mother, that Michael's her child. She's not really doing that. And so Michael feels like he's got no real mother. Now he's got Catherine and there's Diana, but now feels like he's got no real mother. So they walk around with no mother. They drop them off. That's what Diana did to him. They leave a psychological degradation of that. That's what Michael was dealing with. That's what I'm saying. The pain of what's his inner pains that were caused from this whole situation of him not being a real Jackson. This whole thing, it continued because that pain never left. And this is what he's explaining to you. This is the kind of thing. The reason Michael understands their pain so much is because it's his pain. It's the same pain. And this is like Michael under the influence of drugs. And what's he talking about? This is the stuff he's talking about. That they walk around with no mother. They drop them off. They leave a psychological degradation of that. That's what happened to Michael. This is what he's been dealing with the whole time that caused him to be in this state where he's all drugged up and about to be dead very shortly, you know? This is what it's all about. And then you go and ask the DNA, you know, can you explain any of that to me? Do you have any insights to help further this investigation, to explain Michael Jackson's pains and what actually happened to him to cause him to be a drug addict, that caused to his death? Can you explain any of that to me, Mr. DNA? Hello? Mr. DNA? People always say you've got so much to say, that you've got all the evidence. Can you at least give us a clue? Can there something? Can you give us some insight to the psychological degradation that Michael Jackson felt from walking around with no mother and understanding that he was dropped off and given away as a baby? Do you have any insight to explain that? Hello, Mr. DNA? Boy, I don't know why you guys respect this DNA so much. He's got nothing to say. He's got no evidence to show you. He's got no true understanding of who Michael Jackson was. So, I don't know, you guys can keep trusting this DNA, but I'll trust the evidence.